Hello, today is December 3rd, 2015, and this is the Autodesk Licensing for University Facilities Management webinar. This webinar is hosted by the Campus FM Technology Association, and our presenters are Lisa Brady and Chris Munson with Autodesk. I want to thank both our presenters and attendees for taking the time to openly discuss the new Autodesk licensing changes for campus facilities management. It can be very overwhelming to know which options are the best ones to choose for your campus FM needs. So this webinar was organized to hopefully help ease that pain of those decisions, as well as discuss some hot topics like university audits that have been recently discussed on the CFTA listserv. Today's webinar is being recorded. Both the recordings and slides will be made available on the CFTA website. The presentation is estimated to run, I don't know, about 45 minutes or so, with the remaining time dedicated for Q&A. So feel free to send any questions during the presentation using the questions dialog box. Your question will be added to the queue and answered at the end or as time allows. So with that, we'll go ahead and begin. And I want to thank you, Lisa, for being here today.
Thanks for having me, Michelle.
Now, did that share over to you okay?
It sure did. Can you see my screen?
Yes, everything looks fantastic. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. Well, I guess we could go ahead and get started then. Hello, and thank you very much for your time today. My name is Lisa Brady. I'm a Territory Sales Executive with Autodesk, and I've actually been with Autodesk for more than 10 years, and I work with many professionals in the architecture, engineering, and construction industry. And then later on in the presentation, I'll be joined by Chris Munson, who runs our software asset management program for all of the Americas, including North America, South America, and Central America. Our objective today is to discuss Autodesk's business model change, why it's happening, and how you can leverage it. And we'll also discuss and hopefully put to rest any concerns around audits. We'll also be making recommendations of next steps and allow time for questions. So you might be wondering why Autodesk is making such a big shift. Well, we're a technology company, and technology does not sit still. It's constantly evolving, and our job as a technology company is to deliver new capabilities to meet these changing demands of our customers. So think about smartphones and how we use those today. We surf the internet, we make purchases, play games, email, and even occasionally use it to make a phone call. But if you go back just 15 years, much of that technology didn't exist. We might have had flip phones, but we could only text and place calls. Go back 25 years, and phones weren't even portable, unless you were one of the lucky few to have a car phone. And it's not just phones that are smart. We're starting to see the emergence of smart roads, smart cars, and even smart buildings. So our world is changing at a really rapid pace, with infinite computing, mobile devices, and constantly being connected. So what technology is inspiring are changes in our production, in demand, and in our products. So the way we create and manage our ideas is evolving, and we can produce our ideas virtually and test them prior to them becoming reality when it is more costly and unlikely to be able to change. And through collaboration, we can reach wider and wider nets of insight from people around the world, and we can collaborate on those projects. There's a shift in our attitudes about what intellectual property means and who contributes to it, and then who actually owns it. And cloud and mobile technology means we can design anywhere and everywhere and with anyone we choose. And infinite computing enables us to generate ideas from algorithms and to analyze interconnected solution sets so that we can improve building performance. As consumers, we want high-quality, customized solutions at lower costs and on demand. Building occupants, for instance, want architecture which strengthens the power of their connections and considers how linkages of people and things are going to change in the future and render them more valuable and useful. And clients want better procurement of services through data. They want high-quality projects to benefit from collaboration and achieve an excellent balance between costs, project risks, and rewards. Because of disruptive technology, buildings are changing. Physical things are connecting to one another, becoming deeply interconnected systems. The physical and digital interconnection creates new opportunities to add value to a building asset or a space. For instance, these Nest thermostats Those will learn occupant behaviors and actually offer better environmental control and energy efficiency. And this data-driven insight about how we use space is scaling up to environments like the Midfield Airport Terminal building in Abu Dhabi, which uses a sophisticated technology for innovative baggage handling, duty-free item sales. Oops, hit a button, sorry about that. Duty-free item sales and efficient processing of passengers. Technology gives us a way to respond to the demand for high performance across so many dimensions, from occupancy levels, energy performance, and water usage. These connected systems will create opportunities for building owners and occupants, designers and contractors, and product manufacturers. The entire ecosystem will be able to extend their collective capabilities. So where we're at today, Autodesk had really led an industry transformation, moving from the drafting board over to computer-aided design. And we actually look back and describe that as an era of documentation. At that time, the emphasis was on design technology to replicate and improve on a manual process of drawings by creating files that describe what was to be produced in construction. Essentially, it just automated the drafting process, making it more efficient. But over the past decade, with building information modeling, Autodesk has moved customers to a new level of digital technology and brought the industry into a new era, one that we're considering the era of optimization. And this new era is focused on the development of intelligent models and useful data to simulate physical and performance characteristics of buildings and their designs, so they can be envisioned, created, and built more effectively through optimization. So our next era that we're entering is the era of connection. In the era of connection, the focus on design technology will be interconnection of that data so that we can accurately understand and represent buildings as systems, and we can make well-informed design decisions and construct and manage buildings with reduced risk and improved outcomes. And it's these types of changes in technology that is compelling Autodesk to make changes to its technology as well. So what we're offering to our customers is really more flexible options, things that are personalized, they're available on demand, and provide ongoing value. And many of our customers have been coming to us asking us for alternative consumption models, want the ability to be able to subscribe to these products, and rather than putting in a large investment into buying what they want. So our goal is to provide that flexibility, value, and making it be on demand. So we're actually changing the way Autodesk is leveraging the license models, and we're transitioning to a subscription-only model. And again, this is to provide greater flexibility and more value for your software investments. So we've already announced that after January 31st, individual products such as AutoCAD or Just Revit or AutoCAD Mechanical, for instance, won't be available as a new purchase after January 31st. And then our suites, such as building design suites or infrastructure design suites, won't be available as a perpetual license after July 31st. So let's take a look at what it means to be a perpetual license and what it means to be a desktop subscription. So subscription-based offerings are the best way for our customers to thrive in a cloud and mobile computing environment. And we really intend to be the leaders in this space. So as I had mentioned, many of our customers have long asked for greater flexibility and more value from their software investment. And this shift really allows us to deliver both. So cloud and mobile computing are becoming a requirement in helping enable our customers to more effectively compete and succeed. A desktop subscription is a term license, so one in which you lease the rights to use the software. Currently and moving forward, we offer also cloud service subscription, very similar to the desktop subscription, but these are solutions that actually run in the cloud. The desktop subscription, the product will still run on the desktop, but again, it is a termed license. Perpetual licenses are probably what you're used to today, and those are the ones in which you own the rights to use the software. Typically, you may be paying for maintenance subscription as well, which actually will protect that perpetual license investment, providing you with upgrades each year. Now, if you currently own perpetual licenses with subscription, you will still own those even after those dates. It really only applies to new purchases. There's a lot of advantages to the desktop subscription and the cloud subscription. As I mentioned, it is more scalable and flexible, but also provides a lower cost of entry. So, rather than having a large upfront purchase, you would have it more staggered out across the long term. So let's take a look at some of the different options. When is desktop subscription or cloud service subscription right for you? What we're typically seeing is if you've got, in the commercial space, if you have interns coming in for a short period of time, desktop subscription is a perfect opportunity because you would only pay for it those few months that intern might actually be using rather than buying a piece of software that's going to sit on a shelf. The same goes if you're wanting to use it to support specific projects. Maybe you have a project that's 2 years long and you've got people that are going to be using Revit on that project, but maybe not so much afterwards. Then simply subscribe to the software, again, rather than putting up that large upfront investment. And it has a lot of different options from monthly to quarterly to annually or even multi-year plans for desktop. So again, that flexibility and scalability for our customers. Now, when is perpetual licenses and maintenance subscription right for you? So perpetual license, again, that's when you actually own the rights to use the software. So if you are looking at maybe leveraging that software for the long term, 5 years or more, if you know that, say, we'll take Revit architecture, for example, if that's a product that you know that your group is going to be using for more than 5 years, from a financial perspective, it's better for you to go ahead and purchase the perpetual licenses now and add that maintenance subscription. This also supports the network licenses. So, if you're wanting to have a network environment, which really becomes more cost effective, and we'll look at that in a minute, to be able to share those licenses, then again, perpetual licenses is a good option for you guys. Now, sometimes there might be a mix. So, many people have a large investment already in commercial perpetual licenses, and they may just need to scale up or down for a short term. That's when a mix of perpetual and the desktop subscriptions would work. So, temporarily adding some people for a project or, scaling up for a specific time frame, but then having to scale back, use the perpetual licenses as your foundation, and then just buffer that with desktop subscription licenses when needed. Now, here's a quick cost comparison that I wanted to go over because I know a lot of people are, frankly, it can be pretty confusing with some of our terminology. A standalone license and a network license that you see on the left, this is really describing a perpetual license. So many people don't invest in network licenses because they believe they're more expensive. And if you compare them seat to seat, they're a higher cost. However, when you're doing network, we typically assume a 70% usage rate, so you don't need as many seats. Those same 10 users could use 7 network seats because they're sharing those. So if somebody's out for the day or somebody's out in the field, other people could be using that license. Whereas a standalone license, if you had 10 users, you'd need 10 individual standalone seats. You can see there that the upfront cost is actually, in the long run, more expensive to go with the standalone than it is the network. Plus, going with the network, since you need less seats, it actually reduces your annual maintenance subscription spend as well. Now, taking a look over on the other side, now we're looking at perpetual versus desktop subscription. Let's say you purchased 1 seat of Building Design Suite Premium on a perpetual standalone license, and you had it on maintenance for 5 years. Essentially, that 5-year cost would be approximately $11,950. That same seat as a desktop subscription on the 5-year desktop subscription plan, $13,650. So it's really around the 4.5-year mark that perpetual licenses become more cost effective than the desktop. But again, you do have that scalability to switch and move around very fluidly with the desktop subscriptions. So I just wanted to show you guys what that cost comparison is. Now let's get to the real meat and juice of this presentation, and that is about the audits. So Carl Bass, Autodesk CEO, is very passionate about education. And this passion inspired the education grant, which as of today has provided over $450 million to education facilities around the world. There have been some policy changes around facilities use, but I believe you're all aware of those at this time. I mentioned Carl's interest in education because he does not want this to turn into a negative experience for universities. I've heard there have been some rumors around audits, so we thought it would be important to discuss this process and what it means for the facilities group. First off, any commercial customer may be audited, and as a facilities group, you're considered a commercial customer. I do want to emphasize that Autodesk has no current plans to do any mass audit of universities. I checked with our license compliance group to make sure, and they confirmed this. Also, there is usually no fines or penalties that come with audits, so if people are hearing that, that's actually not the case. I just want you guys to know that there is no target on your back. The Autodesk License Compliance Program is a broad-reaching program, and almost every Autodesk customer at some point in time will end up going through the audit process. But it is designed to educate our customers on compliance. Our license agreement is very long and can frankly be difficult to understand, and this program helps with that understanding. If a compliance issue is found, let's say you were over-installed or something, we just ask that you resolve it. There's no fines or penalty, as I mentioned. We simply work with you to find the right resolution. But the most important thing that you can do to prevent compliance issues is to work closely with your local Autodesk territory executive. He or she can advise you on the appropriate solutions and help you maintain compliance. So I want to I have Chris Munson on the line. Chris, can you just discuss really quickly with everybody what are some of the other things that might prompt an audit?
I'd be happy to, Lisa. Thank you. So items that create yellow or red flags within the Autodesk systems that might lead to a potential audit in the future would be items like over-installation of software. So if you have a single seat of Autodesk software perpetual license and you try to ask for more activation codes than what that license is allocated for, our systems will register that information. If that number exceeds a specific number or a threshold, there is the chance that we would be reaching out to the organization to request a scan or an audit of your installation to help protect you. Other things like invalid or pirated licenses. They do exist out there. They exist for Autodesk products, Microsoft, Adobe, etc. If you have an end user that's trying to register or ask for an activation code around a pirated license, that could be a yellow or red flag that triggers a request for an audit as well. It's important to understand what your licensing position is with Autodesk licensing from time to time, and that's why we've created actually a program that I'm responsible for, and that's the Software Asset Management Program, so you can be more proactive. And, all right.
Okay, well, thank you. So we just wanted to be very transparent about how audits occur and what are some things that you can do to prevent that. And as I mentioned, working with your Autodesk territory sales executive is really the best way to make sure that you're informed of different options and to prevent something like this from happening. So you might be wondering, well, who is my Autodesk territory executive? And I know this is a big eye chart. This is the entire North America. We actually will have contact information available for you guys on the CFTA website. So if you do have questions or want to reach out and start to engage with your local territory manager, you will have that information. We're actually divided up into 4 regions, the Northeast, Southeast, South Central region, and West region. And over on the Southeast, this is where I land. I actually support Indiana, Kentucky, and Tennessee. And then I've got a few other people on my team who support the Southeast area. Ben Whitcomb is our sales manager. And then in the South Central, we have Danny Doyle leading that team, and that covers really more of the central region of the U.S. And if you're in Texas, it could be any number of people. They're kind of divided up with such a large state. And then on the west side, we have Mike Foss managing that team. And we have the Northeast, which covers the New England area as well as parts of Canada, led by Tammy DeRosier. So as I mentioned, we will provide contact information for you guys on the site, so please reach out to us because we do want to help you guys. That's what we're here for. We really suggest that you be proactive, and working with your Autodesk territory executive, they can really recommend what the right direction is for, for what you guys are trying to solve. Run a SAM engagement, which we'll actually be talking with Chris more about in just a moment. But the SAM engagement is really the perfect way to understand what you have and what you need. Investing in multi-year maintenance subscriptions. So a multi-year maintenance, if you've got perpetual licenses, will lock you into a price for up to 3 years. So, if we 2 years from now increase our maintenance subscription prices, you've already locked in at the lower price. And then for sure know your options, because with the retirement of the individual perpetual licenses at the end of January and the retirement of the suites, we want to make sure that you're acting within a time frame where you have the most options available to you. So I'm going to turn this over to Chris now, and then at the end of Chris's presentation, we can take some questions if you guys have any. So Chris, it's off to you.
Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
So my name is Chris Munson. I run the Software Asset Management Program for the Americas. I've been with Autodesk a little over 10 years as well. I reside in Colorado, and I look forward to presenting a little bit more information about our SAM program. Advanced? Please, thank you. So what is software asset management? What it is, in our terms, is basically it's a business practice that allows you to manage and optimize the purchase, the deployment, maintenance, utilization, and even the disposal of your software applications within your organization. It does entail a range of tools, etc., and processes, and we help define that process for you. So some of the benefits as a client of Autodesk when going through a SAM engagement, it will help you increase your knowledge of Autodesk installations, what licenses are registered or entitled to your organization, and even help you with identifying the kind of spend on Autodesk software throughout your organization. Clients also reduce your overall long-term software costs because now you have a better knowledge of what's being installed by your end users. For example, people that have a high number of standalone licenses might discover running network licenses would be more cost-effective, or running desktop subscription licenses would be more cost-effective to their environment. By going through a SAM engagement, you'd be able to help determine a better idea. Another thing that's very important around software asset management is making sure that you understand if there are any compliance issues within your organization that might come back to trigger an audit. And if there ever were an audit, if you've gone through a SAM engagement, at least you can respond to that audit request knowing that you probably would not have many compliance issues, or if any, as a result of an audit scenario. Another nice thing is to helping your end users improve their productivity, increase the profitability of that department by ensuring that they have the best licensing models as well as the best technology from Autodesk to do their jobs. Also, one thing that a lot of people do not realize is they have the ability to cross-grade licenses, move licenses over to network, get licenses onto desktop or cloud-based offerings from Autodesk. By going through a SAM engagement, this is going to provide you the kind of on the street, right in front of you type of data that you can make better decisions moving forward on. So Autodesk, through a SAM engagement, we actually provide you with a tool to identify all of your installations of Autodesk software. Autodesk software has an 11-digit serial number tied to it that ties to an activation code as well as deployment types. The tool, the Autodesk Inventory Advisor, is a tool that will easily allow you to identify the installation of our software in a real-time environment.
And Chris, from a facility standpoint, do they have the ability to, use the software asset management just for the facilities group and not have to do that for, say, the entire university?
What we do is we encourage for universities and colleges to look just at the facilities group. You are not required to scan or look for your, say, your students or your faculty members. So again, try to stay focused in that smaller group just for the facilities use. Also, Autodesk provides resources to do analysis of what's installed all the way down to the serial number. We have experts within our organization that do the analysis of the data coming from Autodesk Inventory Advisor, as well as providing global asset reporting or just general asset reporting for your organization, meaning what's registered to your university or college. Also, we do an expert analysis of your optimization of your licenses. We'll recommend where it might make sense to go from standalone over to network or to desktop. Identify any type of compliance risk that might be out there to allow you to address those. And then also, areas where you might be able to reduce your spend. So one of the key points we try to emphasize in a SAM engagement is making sure you're looking for the correct information. And we try to have people focus on understanding what's installed on the actual workstations. And you'll see about 5 data points there: serial number, Autodesk product title, product version, and deployment type. Those are 4 very important items that you want to try to identify as it's installed on your workstation. A lot of people will go looking for purchase orders or they'll look for past contracts. Most of that information is not relevant when trying to identify a real-time nature or environment of what's installed across your organization. Also, if you have networked licenses, we want to make sure that you do set up items like report logging and capturing the license file, just to ensure that we have an understanding of really understanding what PCs are hitting the network license server, making sure the report logs as well as the license files are correctly set up for your specific departments. We provide the tools, the Autodesk Inventory Advisor. It's a free tool. We also provide the guidance on how to set up report logging and capture the license files. Okay. So some examples of some of our analysis reports. In a network environment, we can show how people are getting peak usage data as well as denials. So if you do have end users that are experiencing denial for a network license, we can help people understand when and where in the process or time of day, week, or month they're starting to have those areas of denials by going through the report logging. Next slide. Thank you. We can also identify your installation information based on versions. Are people using the most current version of Autodesk software, or are you finding people still running older versions, maybe for older projects, but making sure that are they getting the most recent and up-to-date technology from Autodesk? Other areas we do is we look at the installations versus registrations. It's a very important item to identify because a lot of customers do not understand that maybe they have an older license that is still available to them or another license. So what we do is we look at your install data. We identify all the PCs that have current licenses installed. Are they on subscription? Are they networked? Are they standalone, etc.? We also look in our database internally at Autodesk and identify anything that your end users have registered with Autodesk. So we can provide you information about the status of those licenses. Are they still available? Are they active? Are they on subscription? Are they networked, etc.? So again, a very good way of getting a baseline understanding of what's going on in your environment. Other areas are looking at subscription, very important item, making sure that you do know where your licenses are under subscription. A lot of customers want to understand how they can consolidate so they're not paying too much for their maintenance subscription fees. We can help with that. A lot of times people do find that they can move a lot of standalone licenses over to network licenses. Your maintenance subscription fees for network licenses are the same cost as if you were running standalone licenses. So there's an area there where you can save money in your cost. Also making sure we identify all active licenses that are not necessarily tied to a subscription, but maybe there are older licenses that your end users might need to have accessibility to, specifically to specific projects. And then also, part of our analysis, we want to help you identify if there are non-compliant installations. We will quantify those for you in our analysis. Items like installations do not match, invalid serial numbers, licenses outside of territory, over-deployed standalone seats, and even over-deployed networks. People think that network licensing can be a little more ironclad, but there are scenarios where over-deployed networks do occur. We want to help you identify those issues and correct those issues so that they don't become a problem in the future.
So thank you, Chris. And Michelle, did we have any questions over some of the material that we covered from any of the viewers out there?
Yes, Lisa, we do have some questions out there. And I'll go ahead and take a stab at asking them some of these. I hope I'm saying correctly. I'll start with easy ones. Someone asked, Carl Smith asks, what about the IT areas, such as networking? Are they responsible for going over to this new license model?
So if you already have licenses in place, like a network license, that's not going to change. It's only moving forward. In the future, we're supposed to be offering also a networked desktop subscription license. So for people who have network environments, they will be able to buy the desktop subscription, and it will seamlessly add right into their environment on that license, on the license file.
Well, that's good to know. I think, though, I might be wrong, but I think his question was more asking about the department, like communications and networking. They have some AutoCAD users in other departments that are non-facilities management areas, that they are heavy AutoCAD users.
Oh, okay. I got you. So, you know, the educational software, the best way to differentiate that is if you're a student or you're using it for curriculum, that's where the education licenses are allowed. If you're doing it for anything else, then those really should be commercial licenses.
Okay, thank you. This question comes from Monty Combs. He says, can you clarify, if we have network perpetual licenses, can we install the software on several more machines than the number of network licenses owned?
Yes, you can install them on all of the computers, and the network license manager helps to manage who actually has the availability of that license. So if you installed it on 20 computers, but your network license file shows you have 10 users, it will manage that only 10 users at any one time could get in.
Okay, thank you. Aaron Chevron asks a little clarification on that question about the other university departments for educational use. What about research?
Research. That one I'm not sure. I'd probably have to look into that because off the top of my head, I'm not sure if research would fall under educational or not. But I will write that one down and check, and then we can repost that question and answer to the CFTA site.
Okay. Another question, just clarifying, and I think they're not the same, but he says, did I hear that network license and a standalone license are the same cost? And that is not true.
That is not the case. No.
No, they are not the same cost.
They are not the same cost.
It's a little bit more expensive per seat, but typically people use less seats of the network than they do the standalone.
Yeah, and you can upgrade from the standalone to a network, correct? But you can't downgrade from a network to a standalone.
Well, so you can move it from network back to standalone, but there's really not a point to do that because once you've already paid for that network activation is good. So if you, for instance, network activated an AutoCAD and you decided to move that AutoCAD over to a building design suite, that network activation goes right along with it. So it's really only a one-time thing that's paid. Yeah, and you can add those at any time. Now, I will say, though, that if you are looking at adding network activations, those same dates apply. So if you wanted to add that to an individual product, you would want to add those network activations prior to the end of January for the suite products, prior to the end of July.
Okay. Okay, question is, I'm currently using network licenses to support a virtual desktop environment. Does the desktop subscription allow for a Citrix or other virtual deployment in a concurrent use method?
So the desktop subscription is actually based on named user. So it is not assigned to a specific computer. Those named users can be changed. So let's say it's based on your email address, for instance. And let's say, Michelle, you had a license, and then, maybe you moved on to a different project and you didn't need that license. That could be reassigned to myself. So they're very flexible in being able to move those around, but it is based on a named user rather than the standalone installation that you would typically have today. Now, how that would work in a virtual environment, I'm not sure, but I will take that as an action item as well.
Okay. Question. We have student workers that do internships within the FM department as part of their educational requirements. Can we use the educational license-free software for them?
Yes, they can. And there's a link where they can go to get that software, so that way there is a record, of who they are and that they are work-study students. So that's not a problem.
That's great. So as long as it's documented that it is in fact an internship for educational requirements, there is no software.
Basically, there's a link where the students can go and download their software, so it's registered to them, and they have access to that. It is an educational copy, but the educational copies are really no different as far as output. So you don't see those educational stamps anymore; those are gone. But they are allowed to use the education software in a work-study environment.
Great. Okay, with the Autodesk Inventory Advisor installed on each machine monitoring licenses, we have some concerns about security and vulnerability of this tool. Unlike other security monitoring tools, this tool from Autodesk is by nature not security focused. How can Autodesk be sure of security of each workstation?
So the Autodesk Inventory Advisor is not a security type of tool. What it does is it is run from an individual's workstation. That individual would need to have admin rights to those other workstations out there. And what it does is it uses WMI technology, Windows Management Technology, to quickly scan for what's installed on the workstation regarding Autodesk software, captures that information, puts it back into the Autodesk Inventory Advisor tool, and reports back. The tool itself does not stay on the individual workstations per se. It is a very light scanning tool. It is not an agent, etc.
Okay, thank you. More questions coming in. How might per desktop license with associated updates affect universities who have a plethora of buildings which may have older files which demand the ability to access them via older software?
So you'll still have the same previous version rights with desktop subscription that you have with the perpetual licenses on subscription today. So currently it is up to 3 releases back automatically, but if you did own a version earlier than those 3 releases, you can get access to that version as well. So you will have access to the previous versions that you need.
Okay. Question, if by July 2016 the Perpetual ceases, how can we keep Perpetual as our model going forward? And it sounds like he has about 20 plus users.
So what I would recommend in that is look out about 3 years and estimate what the size of your group is going to be, and go ahead and purchase the licenses that you would need for that Perpetual model. That way you'll have it, and then just make sure that you stay on maintenance subscription, because maintenance subscription is really what's going to protect that investment and continue to give you those upgrades on those Perpetual licenses.
And Lisa, I may add, a lot of customers are buying into a 3-year maintenance agreement now for their Perpetual licenses. So one, they've locked in their pricing for the next 3 years for maintenance subscription, as well as ensuring that they have Perpetual licenses for the next 3 years, and then start making plans to move over to possibly desktop subscription if they need to in the future.
Okay, thank you. Okay, question from Charles. Are there any discounts available for transitioning the software from educational to commercial?
No.
Oh, from educational to commercial? No, there isn't. There isn't
No.
currently a specific discount for that, but there's a lot of different promotions that Autodesk holds. So, you know, right now there's promotions going on for desktop subscription. You know, there's just various offers. Like I said, you know, if you're working closely with your territory manager, they can find the most financially effective way for you guys to make those moves.
Thank you. Okay, question from Julie. Shouldn't the availability of perpetual licenses, individual or suite, be available beyond after auditing period starts so people can acquire proper licenses, especially if the intent is to help users' organizations?
So the question really is, like, if you went through an audit, say in June or July, that didn't really give you time to invest in the perpetual, is that kind of the question that they're asking?
That's how I might interpret it.
Well, so I guess in that case, what I would do is I would really, like I said, either run a SAM engagement now, because again, there's no cost to that. It'll tell you exactly what you need, and then you can prepare for that well in advance of the retirement of those products. You know, once you've run that SAM engagement, you'll have a really good idea of what your environment is and the compliancy of that environment. So, you know, you're less likely to run into more issues if an audit is run.
Think of a SAM engagement as being a proactive way of understanding your current environment and prepare for what you need to be doing with Autodesk software into the future, and using the right tools and methodologies to do it.
So if the SAM engagement is free, how long
free.
That's great. How long does it last? Like if I were to contact and have it start, what's the beginning and end time for that?
So most customers run through a SAM engagement in a 15 to 30-day period. Just depends on the size of their environment. Yep. We want to make this quick, simple, and efficient for you.
And Chris, would you be the best point of contact for that, or if not, who should people contact?
I can be contacted, or you can work through your territory rep, like Lisa, or the local territory rep, and we can assign. I have a counterpart that helps manage on the West Coast. But I'm a good person to start with.
And great. And is there any sort of SAM utility that we can download ourselves?
That's the Autodesk Inventory Advisor. It is a tool that we offer to customers that go through SAM engagements, specifically for this purpose.
Great. And about Inventory Advisor, Aaron asks, what if there is no central user that has admin access to all facilities use computers? We have a decentralized IT infrastructure that may not support a single run of IA to access all installations. How can we be sure we have accounted for all installations?
That is something that's a very good question. It's definitely a conversation you want to make sure you have with your IT department to ensure that you understand who within the organization does have as best admin rights for the groups of PCs that you do need to scan. Again, we're not asking for the scanning of all PCs in a university. We're only asking for those involved in facilities management, engineering, maintenance, etc.
Okay, great. Okay, here's a question from David. If we bought a perpetual license with 5-year maintenance subscription before July 31st, can we purchase additional years maintenance subscription at a later date?
Yeah, so we actually offer up to 3 years maintenance subscription, and then at the end of that 3-year, you have the option to renew that for yet another 3 years, or 1 year, or 2, whatever time frame works for you. But you can continue to renew that over and over again. There is no plans to be getting rid of maintenance subscription.
Okay, question from Matt. Not sure if I understand it correctly, but I'll give it a go. He asks, will multitude of consultants we use who will have the varied arranged Autodesk product agreement licenses after this next 2 to 3 year period be able to deliver files to us in the same format across the board?
Yes, so the license model does not change the file formats at all.
Those are separate. Okay, Well, you know, there are no questions in the queue. If anyone has any additional questions to ask, please go ahead and post those now. If not, I will go ahead and wrap this up, and they're not coming in. So I guess with that, Chris and Lisa, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedules today. We had a really great turnout of 33 attendees today. So thanks for everybody for coming out.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, and I want to remind everybody that this webinar is the last CFTA-hosted webinar of 2015. Beginning in February, we will begin another round of webinars, beginning with the 2016 Facilities Geospatial Technology Showcase with planned presentations from University of Colorado Boulder, Brown University, Michigan State, Washington State, and University of Arizona. For more information on future webinars, please visit the CFTA website at www.cfta.org. Thank you. Bye-bye.